Hi, this is Vic, and in this presentation I'm going to talk about the extended range electric vehicles produced by General Motors, that is the Cadillac ELR and the Chevrolet Volt. I will be using my 2014 Cadillac ELR as a model. And I'm going to talk about how the cars, how the cars can save the owners or the drivers lots of money in a couple of different ways. Okay, first of all, an overview. The car, speaking about my ELR now, and again, I believe everything I'm going to say applies to the Chevrolet Volt. My ELR is a front wheel drive vehicle. The front wheels are driven by electric motors. The electric motors are induction motors. That means there's no mechanical connection between the rotating portion and the stationary portion of the motor, which is a good thing. Okay, the accelerating pedals. When you press your foot down on the accelerator pedal, you are not directly affecting the flow of gasoline to a gasoline engine like you do in a standard gasoline-driven automobile. What you are in fact affecting is the current flow or flow of electricity. You're affecting, yes, the flow of electricity or power to the motors that drive the wheels. And as a result of that, uh, well, let me back up and get my thoughts together. The car requires electricity in order to be driven. It doesn't matter where the electricity comes from. The electricity can come from the car being plugged in and charged, and the power supply being charged from being plugged in, or the electricity can come from the generator that it carries under the hood. Now, the generator that it carries under the hood is a gasoline-powered motor or gasoline-powered engine. That is an onboard generator. Now, how far can the car go before you need to use the generator? My experience has been anywhere between 38 to, overall, it's been anywhere between 38 to 40 miles before I need to turn on my generator and to continue driving. Now, some people will say, oh, is that it? That's all I can get? Well, I'll tell you what. The car has saved me lots and lots of money as far as gasoline goes. Uh, um, I plug in my car every night, whether it needs it or not. I plug it in every night when I come home, at the end of the day when I come home. And for the first 3 months, I monitored my electric bill very carefully. My electric bill went up by an average of about $35 per month for the first 90 days that I had the car. Now, compared to the couple of $100 in gasoline that I was spending, that's like making more money. That's more money in my pocket. And it's not as fickle as gasoline prices. The price of electricity is more stable than much more than gasoline. Now, looking at this graphic that you see on my last driving session, I drove a total of 46.1 miles. And for those 46.1 miles, I averaged a total of 167 miles per gallon for that trip only. The green portion of that circle represents the percentage of the 46.1 miles that was driven on only electricity from the power supply without running the generator. Or that was 35.4 miles. And you see just above there, right next to the battery icon, the 10.8 miles is next to the icon that looks like a gas pump. So I used the gasoline generator for 10.8 miles to generate electricity. That's approximately 1/4 of the amount of the driving distance that I did. Okay, 46.1 total miles adds up to 167 miles per gallon for this driving session only. My lifetime average is 92.4 miles per gallon. Now, why is my lifetime so much lower than 100? When in fact, on this one little trip, this one little driving session, I did 167 miles per gallon because periodically I drive out of state, and when I drive out of state, I typically drop anywhere between 36 to 38 miles per gallon because I don't plug in my car. I can't plug in my car into a power supply. So I'm dependent upon the generator or the engine to generate electricity for me. Now, even at that time, when I'm driving under those conditions, I do not have to run the engine all the time while I'm driving. I run the engine in extended range mode, and that will allow the generator to do two things at the same time. Allow me to keep on driving, and it will add electricity to the power supply so that after some period of time, then I can once again drive for a short period of time without the generator or engine running. And that's what contributes to 38 to 40 miles per gallon without plugging it in. But when I do plug it in, this 160 miles per gallon average is pretty much what I get the vast majority of the time. That's right around what I get right around the majority of the time. But the car saves money in more than just gasoline consumption. It also saves money because I don't have to change my engine oil every 6,000 miles or 12,000 miles or anything like that. I am required to change my engine oil when my oil life monitor tells me to, or every 24 months, whichever comes first. The first 2 years that I owned the vehicle, I thought I would not make it. I thought the engine oil life monitor would not tell me to change the oil before 2 years was up, but I made it before 2 years passed. So it saves money as far as maintenance and downtime due to maintenance as well. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I thought about mentioning it. But I think I would suggest that General Motors expand the lineup for extended range electric vehicles. I mean, I would love to have an extended range electric vehicle technology in a Camaro. I'm not so horsepower hungry that I need a 600 horsepower Camaro. No, that's ridiculous. For a long time, the Corvette was my favorite car. I owned a C4, I owned a C5, I owned a C6. And one day I got to the point where I got tired of pumping gas. I said, I'm looking for something that's going to give me driving pleasure and not suck lots of money out of my pocket at the same time. And the extended range electric vehicle produced by GM has done that. That is the ELR. The ELR has done that. It still gives me driving pleasure, and it doesn't cost nearly as much money to have that driving pleasure.